show for you. I know I say that every week, but you know we deliver. So, and we're going to be talking about Protractor and AutoVitals integration for folks that are recently moved over to Protractor, thinking about moving to Protractor. And we've got a couple of great guests on today, Jodi Knepper from Lee Myles and Sara Savio, who is our Protractor specialist at AutoVitals, and kind of give you a little bit of the ins and outs on how it went, you know, what pitfalls to avoid now that we have discovered them, and some tips on making that as painless of a transition as possible. And then once you get there, what's the big value? Why should you consider moving over to Protractor as a point of sale to benefit your operation? So Jodi, Sara, thanks a lot for coming on. It's fantastic to have you.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Sure. And so tell us, so Jodi, I know you were, I believe, one of our first probably integrations, kind of like the guinea pig shop with us on Protractor. How did that go?
Better than expected. I was a little afraid in the beginning. You know, you have those fears of, what if I lose all my data? What if it doesn't go bad? What if the whole shop is shut down to a standstill because nothing's working? And I didn't need to worry. It went really very smoothly. I think a lot of that has to do with getting yourself prepared and becoming familiar with the product. So making sure that you do the training that AutoVitals is offering to just understand how it functions, so you're not trying to figure it out in the moment.
Yeah, and so that's great. And so how did it end up working out from a data perspective and you know the integration part of it?
Overall, awesome. We had one glitch in our data migration, which it had to do with the point of sale that we were coming from had an option to label your phone numbers. You know, like I want to label it as Tom's cell phone or, you know, whatever like that. Trax also had daytime phone number, evening phone number. Those weren't easy for the migration to recognize, and so it didn't always recognize a phone number was a phone number. So because of that, we didn't lose the data, like it brought the data in, but it put it in the notes section. So we still had their phone numbers, but they weren't in the phone number field. It didn't seem like a big deal, but in the end, it actually was a little bit of a big deal, because one of the coolest features that Protractor offers is that white pages lookup, where you just put a phone number in and you know, you can see if the customer's in your system. If they're not in your system, it's going to look up the address for that customer, and you have lots of information right at your fingertips. So we didn't get used to searching by the phone number in the beginning, because our phone number fields weren't populated well.
Yeah, so then you had to go back and rebuild all that, huh? So Sara, what are we doing to make sure that I guess we probably double check before we flip that switch, and then make sure that all of that stuff is gonna come through right the first time?
Sure. So when we are looking at the integrations, we are truly going in and we're looking at your data. We are making sure that we understand what fields your information are stored in. So when we migrate that data over, we're able to monitor those fields coming back into the system so that it all populates the way that it's supposed to. Coming from different systems, there are some things that are going to be point of sale specific that we may not necessarily be able to pull in, but that is, you know, kind of the nature of the beast when you're dealing with individual systems. There are so many of them out there, but we're really taking a lot of time on the back end.
There would be some, we would miss a TVP tile or something like that. It wouldn't show up when we were with Trax. We have none of that now with Protractor. The integration is just so much more stable for us. Anyway, so we decided we were moving from Trax to Protractor. Already understood a lot about AutoVitals. So really the only concern at that point was, you know, is everything gonna make it over? What's the timing look like? You know, are my courtesy checks sheets gonna have the recommendations mapped right away? Can we just keep going? My techs, like for me, like our techs we're a flat rate shop. So they care about their time, and they need to feel secure that they're not even gonna miss 1/10 of an hour. So for us, part of making sure that everything worked out for the best of everybody, because we're looking for win-win in every situation, right? So making sure that it works out the best for everybody meant I print out some paper sheets that I give them to each of my techs. I say, hey, just during this transition, I need you to write down the work order number. I need you to write down the number of hours and what you did. And then we're going to match it up at the end of the week and see if this all came out right. And it did. So like that built confidence, like they understood that, you know, nothing fishy's going on and they can rely on the software. So.
Yeah, well, that is brilliant. You know, and I hope you wrote that down, folks that are thinking about moving over to Protractor or in the middle of it, because I mean, that right there, you know, that's going to give exactly is that peace of mind, always have that backup plan, and, you know, hope for the best, be prepared for the worst type thing, right? Sara, what is it that folks can do to help you help them, right, be prepared for that transition so that it goes as smooth and seamless as possible?
Sure. The first thing, if you're onboarding, reach out to us. We want to make sure that one thing that wasn't available when Jodi was onboarding, we have created what we call short codes for the entire service package library that is, you know, that comes as default with your Protractor software. And then we have taken an inspection and we have mapped all of those actions into your Protractor, you know, from the Protractor short codes. So there is a file that we want to upload, and it's important to do that during the testing process so that you can customize everything. We want to have that done. And the second thing, we want to make sure that we are matching we're prepared to match all of your time clock events to your tea time events. And that's very important because all of that information now is pushing back to Protractor. So when you pull your tea time report, you're pulling your labor reports from Protractor, everything is going to match. So those really are the two big things. Make sure that we have you set up for success from the beginning by, you know, once again, installing those service packages with the codes. And then just talking about your workflow. Let's set up your workflow steps properly. It's just really communication. Make sure that, you know, when you're talking to your advisor, your trainer, that we know what you're looking for, that we know how your shop works so that we can make it as seamless as possible and as successful as possible.
Yeah, you know, that's a fantastic service, right? I mean, that's got to be, how many hours do you think of time that's saving by building all those short codes and mapping the inspection sheet already? That's got to be.
Jodi can answer that one. She's done it.
I was afraid to keep track of that time. It was significant.
It was a blur. Oh yeah, it's got to be 50 hours. I mean, it depends on course size of your can job library and all that good stuff. You know, but wow. I mean, that's fantastic. So, yeah, in the communication part, right, is really just finding out what are you trying to accomplish? What's the switch for? What's your goals? You know, what are those things that we need to be focused on to make sure we, you know, dial in and get the best practices, you know, kind of process in place before we go live, and allow your team to practice that before we go live so that there's the least amount of disruption as possible. So let's talk about the benefits. What was the big difference when because now, I mean, gosh, Jodi, if and Sara also, you've probably worked with 3 or 4 different point of sales also in operations. And what would you say was kind of the big benefit from moving over to Protractor with AutoVitals?
Wow. The biggest benefit, the biggest takeaway is, you know, how everything is now transferred back to Protractor with a push of a button. You don't have to enter, you know, your technicians, your in and out mileage are all transferred. You're sending all that service package information over. You can see right there when you open up your work order with the little green lines on the left, what service packages had been completed. You can look in your time tablet, the time tab at the bottom of your work order. You can see technicians' time. So it's just the way that it moves back and forth together. It reduces a lot of steps on the service advisor side, and still is helping to, you know, keep your ATI reports straight, because all of your dashboards that you're pulling up, all of that time data is transferring directly into that.
Yeah, I like to say that's all the Saturday morning kitchen table work, right?
Absolutely.
That's all your free time. It goes out the window when you got to manipulate all those reports for payroll or ATI or anybody, right?
Yes.
Jodi, what was the big hallelujah, kind of benefit for you?
So, in Protractor, there are a ton of features that they just were mind blowing. Like we didn't have access to before, and they helped us level up, honestly.
Nice.
Protractor there are some who are going to look at this and they're going to be like, this is so restrictive. Like there's no fudge room. My husband, I'm not throwing him under the bus. I love this man. However, he is a fly by the seat of your pants guy, right? He wants to move fast. He wants to just do it from memory, like muscle memory. It just happens. And I'm all for automation, but you got to learn all the steps in between to make it automated, right?
Yeah, sure.
So, there were times in the beginning with Protractor that he would want to post something and some part hadn't been received or something like that through Protractor. So that was frustrating for him to get used to that process. But here's the big win in all of that. This software is so much more accurate on every possible level, specifically for accounting and for parts management, because of how everything is it's all tracked, every bit of it. Whether you received the part, if you returned the part, did you get credit for that part that you returned or that core that you returned? All of those things, we never looked at that before. We just kind of assumed everybody was doing their job, and at the end of the month, hopefully the margins look good, right? But
yeah,
I'll tell you a story. We had a computer. We put a computer in a car, and there was a core on the computer, right? $350 for this core on the computer. Because of the way that Protractor handles it, our guys returned or put the job through. They closed out the work order. The core went into our returns bin in Protractor, and it sat there until we received a core again, or a credit against that core, right? Well, we didn't receive it. We didn't receive it. We didn't receive it. Finally, I called the vendor up. I'm like, hey, you didn't give us the credit on this core. And they're like, well, but we didn't receive the core. So I'm like, what do you mean you didn't receive the core? So that sent me back to the build room where I found that the core had been laying on the shelf. That $350 was just a beautiful paperweight in the shop. So like things like that, I wouldn't have known to go back there looking for a core that I didn't even know existed.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean that there are things that you got to learn the new steps, but because of those steps, I'll tell you who this is exceptionally great for is somebody who wants to be an absentee owner, because everything is tracked. Everything's tracked. At the end of the month, when we have an integration between Protractor and QuickBooks, right? Some people do all their accounting in Protractor. I haven't tried that, so I can't speak to it, but we do the back office integration. So every parts invoice that we generate through Protractor gets pushed into QuickBooks. At the end of the month, I get my NAPA statement. It's got all these invoices listed on it, and I start going, well, where's that one? If that one didn't come through, then it wasn't received in Protractor, which means there were parts ordered on my account that either I didn't buy or didn't get tracked somehow. So like it's a lot harder for somebody to mismanage your business or take advantage of your business because they have access to things. Perhaps that's my low trust coming out. I love my guys. I trust my guys.
Or smart business, or smart business.
No,
and
that's my job.
Yeah, well, exactly. And if the audit process is simple, and like you said, it's all online and you can do it from the lawn chair in the Bahamas or whatever, right? Well, now all of a sudden, yeah, you are much more, absentee but still highly engaged and in control of your business without having to because, it's funny, you go out to the trade shows and the conferences and you see a lot of people, they got all their security cameras on their phone and they're like, oh yeah, I'm managing my shop. Well, you're kind of, everybody knows where the camera can't see. And you're much more likely, and I think there's studies that say this, right, is you're much more likely to actually start to cut corners or steal stuff if you know you're being monitored to that level. It almost becomes a challenge to say, I'm gonna get the man. But if we're able to just set goals and monitor expectations and get notifications when something's not working, and then we can respond and we can find really quick access to what happened and correct it, and give direction to the crew and interact with our customers. Well, gosh, we could do that anywhere, right? Do that for as long as they got an internet connection.
Right.
No, that's fantastic. So, so what's next? What are we looking at working on as far as building out that that tool? Because as you said, or I think Sara said, having it to be so seamless back and forth, because we're able to now push not only the sales packages, but also the technician hours and prep for payroll. What's the next kind of project as far as building that tool out to, I guess, free up more of your time?
Well, that's interesting. I haven't gone there, Tom.
Really?
I think, well, I think at this point we're trying to use AutoVitals tracking, like the reports and the new, what's the name of that new, they don't want me to call it a dashboard, Tom, what's it called?
Yeah, business control panel.
There you go, it's a business control panel.
Apologize to Uva for you, no worries.
Being able to use those kinds of things for analytics to just kind of see how things are related, how if if this KPI or this metric changes, how does that affect the other KPIs? Those are things that are super interesting to me. So being able to drill down to do analytics on that level, like that's where I am personally going next, is just to try and target the things that I think are going to make the maximum impact for our business.
So
what I really love is that it feels like one system. AutoVitals and Protractor, it feels like one system.
Yeah, that's fantastic, right? And so that's got to be a great feeling. You're in the refining stage, right? And that's really the key to becoming that full-time absentee owner, if that's what you want to do, scale up your business, have multiple profit centers, all that good stuff. Because once you have that repeatable, scalable plan in place, and then you have a way to monitor it, that's a lot of freedom. It's a lot of freedom, and so that's got to feel pretty liberating in a pretty good spot, especially after the 3 point of sale transitions and all kind of that stuff you went through, to now to be able to sit back and say, let me find out how I can squeeze, get the most efficiency here and the best performance there. Has to be great.
Well, and I think the other thing that our service advisors really appreciated was that in Protractor, there's an analytics tab that you can tap the tab and see on a per job, per line item basis, like what your margins are. And that's made a big difference for us too in, making sure that we're doing smart business and that we're, protecting everybody. Win, win, win. Win for the customer, win for the shop, win for the service advisor, win for the tech. So, you can't do that if you can't see it.
No, that's fantastic. Right? I used to do that when I was running restaurants. It's a spot check on your plate cost, right? Spot check. And if you spot check throughout the day or whatever your time period is, and then you just go all that kind of stress because you're in the right, and then all you got to do is just keep the funnel full, just keep the cars coming in and getting them moving through the process, and everything else is banging, and working, and it's a real big sigh of relief, right, to be able to lean back and watch it all happen. So Sara, if you could fill us in kind of on, what are the next steps from your perspective? What are you working on? I know we've got some work to do, and we're working on the training and things like that to really help, get a big head start, I think, for people that are transitioning. Jodi blazed the trail for us, and we learned a lot from that. And now, Sara's here for us to really take that information and then make it better. What are you working on?
So I think the most exciting thing that we're working on is really, aside from the training and getting you comfortable with the program, as Jodi was referring to, from the training side, really getting you into that business control panel, so that you, as well as, a coach, do you have an ATI coach? Are they involved? Do they understand what's going on? So we're working on that relationship as well, so that together we can help you grow that business, to where you want it to be. On the digital shop partner team, we have established a team. We've got advisors, we've got shop owners, we've got multi-shop owners, we've got CRM specialists, web specialists. We're a specialized team that are pulling together all of our resources to help the individual shop meet their specific goals in a short period of time. So we are working on group check-ins where, you know, we are pulling everybody together that may be struggling in a specific area, so that, you know, we can have that collaboration between the shop owner, the service advisor, whatever it's going to take to help the shop owner and the shop succeed. So, you know, we're looking at all resources, at all options. What can we do to help you reach those goals, to be your partner, to make it all happen? So that's the up and coming that is the most exciting to me. Yeah. I've seen the program work. I've seen everything work, and just helping to share that and see everybody become as successful as they possibly can.
Yeah, it is really exciting. And, you know, it's a great point, Sarah. If there's stuff out there, you know, help us help you. Don't be shy. Post it up on the Facebook forum. Get in touch with your advisor, whoever. You know, send us a message. And we want, because we're always learning. You know, we love it. We love to learn. We love to get the feedback to see how are we going to help you be stronger, faster, better, and ultimately, how do we get your crew happy, right? Help you to get your crew happy with this technology transfer, because you know why? Ultimately, it all comes back to the service that you give to your customer, and that's so important. And to have those customers that see such a difference in a customer service experience, transparency that really changes the attitude about the industry, and then see a staff that's well run and happy and just engaging, and you know, it's really it's going to help you to build those customers for life and serve your communities. And so it's so important to get buy-in, like Jodi had said earlier, is, you know, protect those techs, make sure that they're confident in the program, and then just really just kind of take the reins off, you know, and let them go do their job, and just do it consistently, and you know, you will reap those benefits. And then, like Jodi said, you know, as you know, Protractor and AutoVitals together, don't be shocked to find yourself you know, next to the pool doing some collecting checks, if that's what you prefer.
I'm not there yet. Perhaps one day, but
yeah, soon enough, right?
We're having too much fun.
Yeah, sure. But, you know, it's nice to have the options, right? It's like what John Long was telling us in that episode, you know, the hit by the bus. I mean, I keep going back to that. You know, set your business up to, you know, for the hit by the bus rule. And then, you know, you don't have to be always hit by a bus. You could be off at, you know, off on vacation, off at the casino, or whatever you want to do, right? Bass fishing like Nima does every weekend, out there hunting deer and buffalo and antelopes and stuff. I see you doing that someday. So, 2 minutes? Oh, shoot. Okay, well, we're out of time. Go figure. So I'll just pitch the rest of it. I really appreciate you guys coming on. We got a great episode coming up next week. We're going to make it a 2-week celebration, and let's make it as women in the industry, because we had these 2 great guests on today who are out there blazing trails and leading the way. And next week, we're going to have a fantastic episode. Wednesday, same time, same place. 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, Digital Shop Talk Radio. And we're going to be talking about women in the industry, how they have adapted and how they're leading the way in a lot of areas. And we've got a great panel set up for us for next week. So tune in for that show. Until then, get out there and take this great information that you received today and go make some money with it. And we'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Bye.